I have two outrageous takes. I don't know if I believe either of them, but I'm going to just make them hypotheticals. Tell me what you think. Take number one. Jaxson Dart will go before Shedeur Sanders. Trevor, your thoughts?
I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's likely, but in the sense of, hey, we're giving out hot takes, I do think that you at least have a chance for this one to be right. And the reason why I say that is because I have no idea where Jaxson Dart is going to go in this upcoming draft. And I know I'm a draft guy. I kind of get paid to have an answer there. Well, I'm sorry, I don't have one for this type of a prospect, because when I watch Jaxson Dart, I would tell you that his film says more about, hey, this is sort of a day two type of bet to take. You let him sit a little bit. He can watch and learn. You like the arm talent. You like the natural athleticism. But there are so many quarterback desperate teams that we have this year that all of a sudden we know you're basically in one of two buckets. You're either a team that has a quarterback, you're a team that does not, especially when it comes to one that gives you hope for the long term. I don't think at this point his craze is above Shedeur Sanders. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to go before Jaxson Dart, but it's not crazy to think that he would sneak into the first round. You know, let's say that Shedeur ends up going really early. Maybe a guy like Jaxson Dart ends up getting picked by the Pittsburgh Steelers at pick number 21, right? Like, I could see those realities existing, but it's how wide the gap is between the round grade that I have from the film on Jaxson Dart, which is that of more of a mid-day two, third round type of a quarterback I'd love to take a chance on to sit and develop, and where it feels like some people might take him. Because you got to remember this too. If a guy ends up going in the first round, history will tell you, well, see, the NFL thought Jaxson Dart was a first round pick. Maybe not the NFL, but it only takes one team to be able to do it. So yeah. I would tell you that it's not totally far-fetched. The dream's not dead, but I would tell you it's a long shot still at this point. I think Shedeur's going ahead of him.
Sorry, I cut you off there. And I always hear from Browns fans as well, well, just take the quarterback, whichever quarterback, take the best quarterback at 2. And I say, just because you pick a player at 2 doesn't mean he's the second best player in the draft. It means you picked him at 2 and he's always going to have that label. Like you said, well, then Jaxson Dart would always have that label. Let's say he goes 21. He was a first-round pick. Well, that's where he got picked. So, yes, that is a fact, but that doesn't mean he's the 21st player in the draft per se when it comes to talent. It just means someone took you there. It also puts an unreasonable at times expectation on that player that perhaps got quote-unquote overdrafted. Along those lines, while we're at it, before I give you my second crazy hot take here, do you think Shedeur is going to fall? Because that's groupthink right now. Sanders is going to fall, whatever that means.
I would have told you after the combine, and this was sort of my from everything that I heard at the NFL Combine, right? Because the Combine's not just about watching drills. It's also about what you hear. It's going out, you know, it's talking to scouts, it's talking to general managers, to coaches. It's often talking to other media members who are very plugged in as well. I couldn't really find anybody to speak about Shedeur Sanders' draft stock with a lot of conviction as a first-round quarterback. So it made me think that his range is a lot closer, and the conversation about him is a lot closer to that I just had about Jaxson Dart than it is about Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's basically a lock for the top 3. There's no way he's getting out of the top 3. I think Shedeur Sanders could possibly go into the top 3, maybe to a team like the Cleveland Browns, which you know are trying to turn the page at the quarterback position, maybe to a team like the New York Giants, who, okay, they have Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson on the roster, but it's not like those are heavy guaranteed long-term deals. They could still take a guy like Shedeur Sanders. But then I could see him sliding into 21 with the Pittsburgh Steelers, sliding all the way to the second round. His range is just so vast. And so I was one of those people after the combine that felt as though it was more realistic that he was going to slide outside of the top 3 than he was going to get picked in the top 3, because at that time, before the combine, that felt like consensus. And so I do lean a little bit more towards him falling down the draft order from what it was originally predicted, just because of sort of like how I evaluated him as a prospect. But just like we talked about with these QB needy teams, if you don't have any answers, good chance you're probably going to pick one just because you got to take a swing at the bat. So that it is so hard to answer the where is Shedeur going to go question, because I think the tape would tell you he's more of a, again, second round quarterback that I'd love to have sit and take a bet on for him to develop a little bit later into his rookie contract. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of teams that just need a quarterback right now. And so maybe going back to that conversation, is he a number 2 overall pick type of a player? Maybe not. But that might be what Cleveland feels like they have to do, because they got to get an answer there. So he's all over the place. But I think the conversation about Shedeur is closer to the draft range of Jaxson Dart than it is of Cam Ward.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.